Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Heather Sells.
And I'm Mark Martin. President Obama is taking some more time today to try to figure out what to do against the Islamic terrorists taking over Iraq and Syria. But with crisis after crisis piling up, critics say the Obama foreign policy is so aimless and weak that he's making even Jimmy Carter look good. Dale Hurd has the story.
Officials say the U.S. has begun surveillance flights over Syria in a move that could pave the way for airstrikes against Islamic State militants. After 3 years of war in Syria and months of ISIS rampaging through Iraq, White House officials are still struggling to get on the same page. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel called ISIS an imminent threat to the United States. Then other White House officials backed away from that. One potential target for the U.S. military, the northern Syrian city of Raqqa, an ISIS stronghold.
Raqqa is about the safest territory for the Islamic State that currently exists.
The London Mirror reports British and U.S. special forces are forming a hunter-killer unit to smash the Islamic State by hitting its command structure. And things just got more dangerous in Ukraine, with the announcement that Ukraine has captured 10 Russian soldiers on its soil. The two nations are meeting for talks that are expected to go nowhere. President Obama has to decide if the U.S. will help Ukraine in a support role, and both choices are bad. If the U.S. doesn't help, eastern Ukraine could be overrun by a Russian invasion. But increasing military aid to Ukraine risks a U.S.-Russian showdown in a part of the world where Russia is militarily stronger than the United States. But some members of Congress say it's time for America to stop acting weak.
This is an administration, which the kindest word I can use is feckless, where they have not outlined a role that the United States of America has to play, and that's a leadership role. The president has to understand that America must lead, and when America hasn't, a lot of bad things happen.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Former President Jimmy Carter plans to be the keynote speaker at a Muslim convention in Detroit this Friday. According to the Toledo Blade, the Islamic Society of North America, or ISNA, is hosting the event. CBN News has reported that ISNA is the nation's largest Muslim group with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda, and Hamas. ISNA leader Mohammed Magid has also been an advisor to the Obama administration. This year's conference is about elevating Muslim American culture. Speakers will offer ideas for advancing Islam in America over the next 5 years.
The Australian government plans to spend $60 million to fund measures to counter violent Muslim extremism and radicalization. Australia wants to strengthen programs aimed at preventing young people from getting involved with Islamic terrorists in Iraq and Syria. They also plan to start new multi-agency investigation teams. Prime Minister Tony Abbott says at least 60 Australians are fighting with ISIS overseas.
As Islamic jihadists continue their reign of terror across northern Iraq, many Christian survivors say they just can't stay in the country anymore. CBN's Gary Lane is in that region as CBN Disaster Relief brings aid to the refugees who are fleeing the violence. He spoke with a local Iraqi pastor about the situation.
What was the mood of your church tonight? What were you praising and worshiping and praying about?
We were praying and praising the Lord because He's good. And He's good all the time, and we were speaking and talking about that, His goodness, His righteousness, and why we go through difficult situations. Sometimes we don't know, but we were going to still trust Him and love Him.
And I know since early June you've lost about 10 family members, or families. I'm sure that's very hard for you as a pastor and leader of a flock. How do you feel about that, about Christians leaving? Everybody we talk to wants to leave.
Actually, this is most sadness things in our life when we see that our brothers and sisters, we were together all the time, praying, worshiping the Lord, and now they are leaving because the situation is very bad. This is hurting actually a lot. And actually, I always think about like it's a picture of a family, and when you look at it, we had it in 2005, 2007, same picture, 2010, the same pictures. But when you look at it in 2014 and 15, you're going to see that, oh, he's not here, she's not here. This is hurting a lot because the faith that we have is that the Christians are the salt of this land and the light of this land. If everybody leave this country, who are going to be speaking the truth about the people that need us? Who are going to be speaking the truth, and who are going to be keep this area from the wrath of the Lord? Because the sin is everywhere and people are killing each other. So who are going to keep this area and to be for God to put pour His mercy on it if everybody's leaving? So it's very sad, and we are praying for people to come and encourage the Church of Iraq, and continue be praying for the Church of Iraq and encourage the people. And we are very encouraged by your visit and visits of other friends and pastors and people who are calling, and they are willing to come and serve and minister to the people here and be with us, helping the refugees also coming from different areas to this place. We are very glad for that, and we are praying for more people to come, because we want our people to be encouraged and to stay in this country and declare the word of God to all the people around us, because most of them, they need Jesus Christ. And only Jesus is the solution for them, and He can help them and He can save them. Our country cannot be saved by military actions. Our country should be saved by Jesus Christ only.
And how important are partnerships?
That's something, the partnership is something wonderful, because even at the time of Paul and Peter, Paul was saying that this church is helping that church, and that church I'm taking from this church to help this church. So Church of Jerusalem. So churches, we need each other. We are brothers and sisters. We live different places, but one day we're gonna live all together with Jesus Christ. But now we need to help each other and support each other. And if you see in the Bible, you're gonna see a lot of this word, each other, help each other, love each other. So we need each other a lot, and we are thankful for the partnership.
That was Gary Lane reporting there. In other news, Boko Haram is claiming control of another Nigerian town, saying it has added to its own Islamic caliphate in northern Nigeria. The terrorist group says it now controls the city of Gwoza in Borno State, saying Allah is going to use Islam to rule Nigeria and the whole world. But Nigeria's army denied the terrorist claim, stating the Nigerian state is still intact. In April, Boko Haram militants kidnapped more than 200 schoolgirls who still remain captive. More than 4,000 people have been killed this year in Boko Haram's jihad in Nigeria.
Here at home, renewed calls for an earthquake alert system after the temblor in Napa, California. Supporters say it would work like systems that are already in place in Mexico and Japan and could offer as much as 40 seconds to take cover. Napa Valley remains on high alert for aftershocks from Sunday's historic magnitude 6 earthquake. That quake destroyed dozens of homes and buildings, causing an estimated $1 billion in damage.
Probably the most severe earthquake that's happened to the Napa wine industry maybe in decades.
We want to make sure that the safety level increases and that people aren't going near buildings that have where there's a threat that debris may fall.
Despite the catastrophe, Napa officials are pushing tourism. They're reminding would-be visitors that 80% of the region's wineries were not affected by the quake. Meanwhile, one Napa church has become a Red Cross relief center for about a dozen residents whose homes were badly damaged. Crosswalk Community Church is offering beds and showers along with insurance help and meals provided by the Salvation Army.
The Department of Veterans Affairs says there's no proof delays in care at a VA hospital caused any deaths. Earlier this year, shocking revelations that up to 40 veterans died while awaiting care from the Phoenix VA hospital. That exposed serious problems at other VA facilities. While veterans waited months for care, VA employees were falsifying records to cover up the delays. But a new draft report by the VA's Inspector General says they could not conclusively prove that delays caused any deaths. Well, still, VA Secretary Robert A. McDonald admits the VA is, quote, in the midst of a very serious crisis.
We have an update now on the IRS scandal involving the targeting of conservative groups. Judicial Watch announced the discovery of backups of Lois Lerner's so-called missing emails. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton said Department of Justice attorneys for the Internal Revenue Service told Judicial Watch on Friday that Lois Lerner's emails Indeed, all government computer records are backed up by the federal government in case of a government-wide catastrophe. He also said those attorneys report it would be too difficult to find Lois Lerner's emails. But he says they acknowledge the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration is looking into the matter.
Coming up, Ebola epidemic, how Operation Blessing is fighting to push back the tide of this deadly outbreak. Ebola has killed more than 1,400 people across West Africa, and the epidemic is raging ahead without any proven vaccine or cure for the disease.
But Operation Blessing is on the ground in Liberia, bringing aid to help fight the outbreak. Operation Blessing's David Darg traveled there to oversee the relief effort.
My friend Moses here is modeling for us some of the supplies that Operation Blessing is sending in to help with the Ebola workers. This is a complete outer layer shell. It's disposable, and they change this daily as they're in the Ebola environment. They have to wear rubber gloves, and a face mask is essential. And that's just for the workers. The doctors that are face to face with the patients are having to wear even more protective layers. And Operation Blessing is shipping in all of the equipment they need, needles, medicines, this protective clothing, to help serve the Ebola clinic in 2 locations in remote parts of the country.
Operation Blessing Vice President David Darg has just returned from the region, and he joins us now with more. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for taking the time today. We appreciate it. What did you see? What are conditions like on the ground in Liberia?
Well, it's a nation in crisis. It's a really tough situation right now. The people of Liberia are afraid. There's just mass hysteria, mass fear. The government's warning people to stay at home if all possible, not even to shake hands with people on the street. And, you know, through all the media and the stories they're hearing, people are very afraid, and they have a right to be so because Ebola continues to spread, people continue to die, and there's no end in sight yet. They're quarantining whole neighborhoods of the capital, Monrovia. And so there's a lot of concern and just a lot of work to be done over there right now.
And I'm just curious, I know you have great faith, you trust in God, but were you a little nervous going over there?
You know, you have to admit, it was kind of troubling to go there. My wife certainly was afraid, but you know, we have enough experience at Operation Blessing working in around these situations to know where you go, where not to go, and how to stay safe. So it wasn't too dangerous for me.
All right. Well, why is this disease still spreading, and what kind of aid is Operation Blessing going to be providing?
Well, Ebola continues to spread because there is no cure. That's the number one reason. But the real reason why it's spreading so much is people really haven't been educated enough to know about the dangers, especially in the remote parts of the country. There's a lot of sort of a stigma against Ebola, which is causing people not to seek treatment if they feel the symptoms. So one of the things that Operation Blessing is doing is we have Ebola prevention teams. These are church volunteers that are going out into communities, handing out literature, warning people of the signs, telling people what to do if they have symptoms, providing soap and hygiene training. So we're trying to do everything we can towards prevention, but we're also helping with the treatment side. Operation Blessing has shipped in large amounts of medication to help support Ebola treatment centers in certain parts of the country. And we're about to start producing liquid chlorine, which is very useful for disinfection, for helping people to clean their hands. So we're doing everything we can to help right now.
I know many times Operation Blessing will partner with a local church. What role is the local church providing during this time?
Well, we have great local church partners there in the capital of Monrovia. And so it's church volunteers that are forming these Ebola prevention teams. So they're wearing T-shirts, going out into the communities, being the boots on the ground, really helping spread the message of prevention. But we're working with churches now also for chlorine distribution. So we're really utilizing the local church as much as possible.
Okay. Well, what are Operation Blessing's needs at this moment for our viewers who want to help?
Well, of course, prayer is so essential just to keep the team safe on the ground, but people can help financially. You know, we're doing medical distribution still with the chlorine, with the prevention teams. Finances are a need right now, and we can do a lot to help Liberia. And people can join us in that by just making a donation to Operation Blessing.
Okay, so the 2 biggest needs right now, prayer, of course, and then finances.
Absolutely.
Okay, David Darg, Vice President of Operation Blessing. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thanks so much.
Up next, she's just 17, and she's already defeated a 3-term delegate. Meet this young contender and see why she's got her competition talking about God. Well, Sarah Blair looks like a typical 17-year-old, and yet she's anything but.
Yeah, while her classmates were focused on prom, graduation, and college, Sarah set her sights on something much grander. As David Brody reports, if she achieves her goal, she'll be making history.
Sarah Blair is not your ordinary teenager. It's impressive enough that she graduated summa cum laude from her high school. And by the way, she also could become the youngest person ever to serve in West Virginia's legislature. At the ripe old age of 17, Sarah defeated a 3-term delegate in the Republican primary.
Take me back into your childhood, Sarah, and tell me a little bit about where all of these ideas of maybe getting into politics or something like this kind of originated.
I really started to get involved at about age 6 when my father was first elected. From there, I started attending the meetings and going to the dinners, but I never saw it as something that I particularly wanted to become involved in until my junior year of high school when I attended a program called Youth in Government.
From that point, Sarah realized that despite her age, she didn't have to wait to serve.
I realized that I'm able to use this opportunity to show other young people that we don't need to wait until we're 30, 40, or 50 to understand conservative principles, and that, you know, we don't have to keep moving forward in the direction that millennials are expected to go.
So Sarah got to work, first by reaching out to voters with close to 1,000 handwritten letters. Her friends helped out with signs and phone calls, and this all comes very naturally to Sarah. Her dad, Craig Blair, is a state senator.
So with your dad, so he was surprised by what happened there?
When I told him that I was interested in running, he was completely surprised. He had no idea. He was shocked. He didn't understand that I had been, you know, I guess listening in, and he'd been mentoring me for 10 years.
In addition to her supportive family, Sarah brings another important key to this effort.
And I don't think if I had as strong as a faith that I did, that I would be able to see that I'm trying to do this for a greater purpose and to help all young people and the state of West Virginia.
It sure has helped her through the campaign process, but she's not the only one in this race who knows Jesus. In the fall, Sarah will go up against Democrat Lane Deal.
My faith is very important to me. It has been since I was saved when I was 7 years old, and I remember that very, very clearly.
And Democrat Lane Deal sees a lot of positives coming from this contest against a teenage opponent.
It certainly doesn't bother me. I think that God can use anybody, to, you know, regardless of what their age is or what kind of experience that they have. I think my overall reaction was positive, because I do think that it's important to have young people involved in our political process and representing people within both, you know, statewide and throughout the country, because the future does belong to our next generation.
The future includes improving the economy, and that means jobs.
In the state of West Virginia, a lot of kids get their good public education here, and then we have a thing called the Promise Scholarship, which is the $19,000 scholarship to students for secondary education. And it's paid for by the state, and so a lot of students use that. And then once they're done with their high school and their college education, they leave the state because they can't find a good paying job.
And I think jobs is certainly critical to that, but not just any job. We need to have good paying jobs, because that's what the best and the brightest are going to, are filling, are good paying jobs. And I think the way to do that is we need to be able to diversify our industry base in West Virginia, so that we're not just relying on one or two industries.
While this race will touch those issues, it is much different than any other in the country.
I've received hundreds of emails from people across not just the country, but across the world. Just young people, people in their late 20s, and it's just amazing to hear their support and how they're excited to become involved.
All because of a 17-year-old who believes it's never too early to make a difference. David Brody, CBN News, in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Welcome back. NBA fans can easily follow their favorite players and teams during basketball season, but what happens during the off-season?
Angela Zadapak gets the inside story of what some pro ball players did this summer off the court for Christ.
Each year, the beautiful Hawaiian Islands attract people from all over the world. This summer, it's not just the beaches drawing crowds.
Professional athletes from the NBA are teaming up in Maui, providing a summer basketball camp called Basketball Maui. They're using the game to spread the gospel.
We come out and we work with the kids, not only just with basketball, but in staying true to their faith.
Having the pro athletes here to provide, obviously, I mean, just the excitement, number one, but then when you really get to know them and the kids get to know their heart, and the reason they come here is because they love God and they want to serve God and they want to use their gift, which is basketball, to advance the kingdom of God. I mean, it's just amazing what happens with their involvement.
Various faith-based projects sponsor the camp, including Active Faith athletic apparel and the new movie Mid-Range. As the first Christian athletic apparel made by pro athletes, Active Faith exploded overnight when NBA star Jeremy Lin was photographed wearing their wristband, "In Jesus' Name I Play." Sports fans responded and Lin's sanity took off. This photo made the cover of Time, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, and eventually splashed the brand across Taiwan's largest news network.
I just thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for that shot, man.
Another connection, the ministry film called Mid-Range. It's about a college player who wants to play pro basketball. Former and current players featured in the film are showing it around the country. Events like Basketball Maui also give the athletes a chance to share their testimonies, along with the temptations that come with being a professional athlete.
It's easy to be a professional basketball player. It's hard to be a Christian professional basketball player. So the battles that you're facing are on steroids. You know, I mean, everything is compounded, pushed higher.
The week wrapped up with a celebrity basketball game where players gave me a few pointers on the court. And with the success of Basketball Maui, they're shooting for an even bigger turnout next year. Angela Zatopek, CBN News, Maui.
That's a fun assignment.
Yeah, go Angela on the court as well.
Yeah.
And she brought back 4 prizes that you at home can try to win in the CBN Basketball Maui giveaway. All you need to do is answer some basketball trivia questions, and you can find out more about that contest by going to CBN News on Facebook and on Twitter. Our handle is @CBN News.
And that is it for now on CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues that you care most about at cbnnews.com.
Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here, and you can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.